Long Bitcoin, short the banks. Welcome to the crash of November of 2025, the new moon mess. New moon is tomorrow, and this can continue, according to GAN experts. So, what are we going to do? I'm going to tell you some key levels. Eagle King is going to drop a link. It's all over my Twitter at crypto_noble. For the game plan for platinum members and VIP members. We also did a free YouTube stream last night. Check that out. I am your host, Bill Noble. I am going to tell you exactly what you need to do and what's going to happen and what is happening. So you want to stay here for that. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. That tells the algorithm that you dig it, and that helps us help you. We are live every morning on this Shorts feed at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, giving you the guidance you need to get through the day and understand what's happening and not lose your mind, even if your P&L looks like a giant ketchup splatter. I'm with you. I understand. Let's begin with something simple. Let's begin with not investment advice. It's not an opinion. This is an opinion show. But I'll tell you what I did yesterday. I'll tell you what I did. I bought Solana at 160. I bought small amounts of Akash. That's AKT. I got myself some TAO, some Filecoin. I know, don't laugh. Some Filecoin and Aave, DeFi. Okay. And I'm dying to buy Bitcoin. I'll tell you the levels right now. Gregory Brinkley is talking about Zcash. I will talk about Zcash. Patreon Platinum has a privacy coin trading plan. So tactical levels for all the privacy coins, a plan. The top 20 coins are GAN model likes, and the top 3 coins are GAN model likes. You know, intermediate, longer term. Please check that out. We'll talk about Zcash. So what am I looking to do in Bitcoin and why? Okay, the first level, our GAN model had 3 levels that are important. There's 103, 101, and the third level you have to get in Patreon Platinum. Now, stonks have problems. The stonks graph that will scare you is also in that area, but stonks are scary. There's a tweet this morning that, you know, Michael Burry's whole portfolio is NVIDIA and Palantir puts. And if those stocks went down 20%, it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch. So we wish Michael Burry the best. Now, let's discuss what I'm looking to do with Bitcoin. Basically, if they hit stonks, especially if it has to do with funding stress and banks, because I have a feeling that's what it has to do with, right? In other words, last night in Asia time, equities were unched. Crypto was on its way up. I looked over here and then I looked over there and everything in crypto was down 3%. And stock futures were down 1% overnight. Boom. Somebody's out of business in Asia. We don't know who. That's a free one from yesterday's 500th market update. 500th edition was yesterday with me and Tobie. Somebody's in trouble in Asia. We don't know who. The reason we don't know why is because it's over there in Asia. We don't know if it's Binance. We don't know if it's a bank. We don't know if it's phony baloney with some chip company accounting. We don't know. We don't know. So we have a stubborn Federal Reserve. We have an even more stubborn administration that really wants to create a crisis. I believe that the sovereigns and the central banks don't mind creating a crisis. They don't mind, especially since I think there is an issue somewhere with a bank. Now, for your trading plan, a hint of what's in Patreon. If they hit Bitcoin at 103, below 103, I start the DCA, right? So it's 103, 101, and then I can come up with 2 levels after that. You know, some of them are scary. I can tell you the bottom one that's on Twitter is 75. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully. I believe that whatever is going to go on with stonks, you're going to have something that my partner calls a decoupling, which is also a separate report in Patreon, which simply means, because she's had to beat this into my head, right? Like a sandal, you know, she's like, hey, listen, the things that govern crypto price action are not the things that have governed crypto price action in the past. So if there's a NASDAQ puke or, you know, some puke in equities or NVIDIA or whatever, that will affect crypto mainly for 1 to 3 days. And then as our report details, I believe you have to get after this whole space. I think you have to get after this whole space because it's just like binary. Either NASDAQ is going to drag all of crypto down to zero, or crypto is going to fulfill the dream of the Bitcoin white paper. That, you know, there's never been a better time, right? Men behaving badly at the central bank, men behaving badly in the administration, a government that's closed and no one cares. In other words, Zero Hedge is reporting this morning that the biggest incentive to open the government is that their Christmas vacation is going to wind up being canceled if they don't figure this out. And of course, this all creates funding stress in the system. Could the Fed fix it? Does the Fed have to print? Probably. Will the Fed let equities become like a mini crisis before they do? That's possible. Which on that note means that, you know, if your crypto portfolio is what you use to pay the rent, then, you know, you need to think about risk management. Now, if you happen to have cash on hand, this could be a dream. It feels like a dream. And it's not just a dream in Bitcoin. It isn't, right? There's something that came out this morning that I thought was an incredibly profound quote. It was about projects that have problems and the team walked away, but the blockchain still functioned. And I was like, you know what? This could be used from all of altcoins because it's not just altcoins. As Tobie Ward said yesterday, it's the future. Literally, it's the future. She's gone full futurist. And here's the quote. What's dead may never truly die. Altcoins look dead. The stock market's going down. Everyone's losing their mind. It looks like it's going to zero. It looks like it's dead, but it won't die because it's decentralized. It is. And if you watch what's been going on in privacy, right? Like I thought initially that the Zcash trade was because of what's happening. You know, today is a big day in New York City. I like to talk about it because I'm from New Jersey and there's a lot of like dramatic stuff there for YouTube. But the simple fact of the matter is over the last 48 hours, everything and anything that was high quality or name brand privacy in crypto, from like Zcash at 17 market cap to like out to 600, like Secret, you know, Pirate Chain, all this stuff, it all moved. Like we're talking about 20% at a time. So privacy was a big rotation. Privacy is actually leading the market, in my opinion, in a positive direction. Now, nothing outperforms forever. You definitely want to get the tactical trading plan in Patreon Platinum, if I don't say so myself. But even as equities look like they could just fall off a cliff, banks, oh my God. In other words, you know, the Fed may or may not have to print short term, but there's no question that there are giant problems out there with certain banks and with legacy in general. In other words, enough is enough. In other words, what's the case for Bitcoin if they start smacking it below 103? The case for Bitcoin at 103 is that we're fed up with the legacy system. And I've been talking about this for 3 days, that if Michael Burry scares everybody out of Palantir and NVIDIA, where does that money go? Cash? Treasuries? The government's closed. Are you going to get an interest payment? Are you sure? They're closed. Yeah, you'll get an interest payment. They won't default, but are you excited about government bonds? How about cryptocurrency ETFs? You know, Cramer's engagement farming today saying we're now in a bear market era. And you know what? It's not a ridiculous statement, because as of like 3 days ago, there was 130 stocks on the New York Stock Exchange making new 52-week lows. The stock market underneath the Magnificent Seven and, what I call the Skynet index, the stock market's been falling apart for like 2 weeks. It's been falling apart for 2 weeks, longer. Again, 52-week lows, not went up and came down. It's been going down and further down and further down. Okay. So, and we know this because we have bags and we understand that. But there is a possibility that, 101 would be the point where you would really want to hold. If Bitcoin holds 103, that would be glorious. And of course, I'm waiting for that moment where stonks crack and crypto either holds, starts to move north, or wicks down and comes back. I'll take any of that. I'll take any of it. A lot of people think this is going to zero. You got bears doing a victory lap. I get it, right? Was it a good idea to tell people to get out a week and a half ago? Well, in retrospect, probably. Instead, what I did is I moved my personal finances around to make sure that I had cash in case these levels actually appeared. One thing that Tobie was saying, which I've repeated and will repeat again, 12 months ago, if Bitcoin had been at 100, you would have been wearing a lampshade on your head and drinking out of a bottle of champagne. Now, Bitcoin literally may go back to where it was, might be sub 100, which is where it was in November of last year. And now everyone thinks it's the end of the world. It wasn't the dawn of a new era in November, as it turned out. I mean, it is, but it wasn't in terms of price. Bitcoin went to 120 and that was it. We didn't do anything for the entire year. Now everyone's going to see it at 101 or 103 or whatever, and they're going to lose their mind. And if it does print below 100, everyone's going to get hysterical, which is exactly the point where I want to move in. And I guess if they take it to 75, well, okay, then you can hate on me all you want. Thing is, I'm not going to walk away from crypto at the moment where crypto has an opportunity to do something different. And I'm not talking about just Bitcoin. Tobie on the free show last night said, basically, no matter how much they spend on the AI data center build out, they'll never be able to build the centralized hardware fast enough to keep up with the improvements in AI itself, implying that a decentralized solution for AI may be the only way for AI to become useful, public, to fulfill its promise, to not turn into Skynet. What a fascinating futuristic theory. Now, that made me start looking, like I said, at TAO and Filecoins. Filecoin, just as an example. And we got a whole list. We got a whole list of AI-related coins. Some of them are not complicated. Most of them are on Coinbase. Most of them are on Coinbase, right? No one is talking about this right now. Nobody. Right. But of course, everyone's going to be talking about the crash and NVIDIA, and which is fine, because when they come out of that stuff, what are they coming into? People don't realize that stuff's been sucking all the capital in the world out of the market. And again, going back to what I said in the beginning, it may be in the interest of all parties involved inside the U.S. sovereign complex to have some bank crack. Like the Fed's like, well, I'm not going to save it because you haven't been nice to me. The orange man is, well, I'm going to make you save it because rates need to be massively lower. Why do rates need to be massively lower? 28 out of every 1,000 homes changed hands this year, the lowest turnover in decades. Home sales are on track for their worst year since the mid-1990s, when you had a government bond crash and you had the 30-year long bond at an 8 1/8 yield, 8.125. I know because I saw that from the bond futures trading floor in the Chicago Board of Trade once upon a time. That's how bad it is. The market is currently acting. Housing market is acting like the mortgage rates are at 10%. So what has to happen? Well, the Fed has to print. They're worried about inflation and overinflated asset prices. But the orange man is like, you guys are going to cut rates. You're going to do what I say. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you like him or you don't like him. Okay. If he says, I want rates down, they're going to get rates down. They are. They're just going to, walk away from the bargaining table. No Christmas vacation for you. And they're going to wait for something terrible to happen. They watched equities go down 25% off the tariff tantrum. And the orange man was like, don't be a baby. And then equities turned around and went up for 6 months. So you think he cares if equities go down 20%? He doesn't. Now, of course, nobody wants to look at 77K Bitcoin. I understand that. But the case for all these sovereigns behaving badly, right, with banks in very serious trouble, people are walking away from credit cards. That's causing a problem. People are walking away from car loans. That's causing a problem. And we've discussed this. Why have we discussed it? Because it brings in crypto as the future of money. Tobie doesn't even like talking about crypto as the future of technology. She's like, it's not, there are sectors in crypto, but the tech is not, I don't know. It's not separate. Like everyone did meme coins and everyone thinks that that's crypto. That's not crypto. That was like a fun little thing. And what's funny is everyone's talking on the Bitcoin maximalist side and on for the engagement farmers that there was no alt season. There wasn't. There won't be one. It's not going to happen. And as soon as they all said that, boom, every privacy coin was going up 20% a day for 3 days. I'm like, I don't know, homie. That looks like alt season to me. You just had it in a very confined sector. Now, what happens if that starts to spread out sector by sector by sector? We have in Patreon, and we've discussed it on the YouTube member area. What happens if altcoins take out, say, like their 5 or 10 day high? We have a spike list because, when they get done selling this, or if NVIDIA cracks, or if the 10% decline in stocks is only a 2% decline because, I don't know, because the Fed steps in. A lot of these short sellers, stocks should go down, right? We all know that. But whether or not stocks go down like in 2008, which is what Michael Burry is dreaming about, I don't know. I do know that stuff is absurdly overvalued versus crypto. So if the Fed doesn't care and they're just grumpy, I guess we're all going down with stocks. But if there's a Silicon Valley Bank, if there's a failure somewhere in the legacy system, crypto will take it on the chin for 1 to 3 days. And then there's that November 5th, November 10th window from our Gann model for the reversal. Now, what does the reversal look like? I don't know. If I knew that, I'd be streaming from my yacht. I can use all my models and Tobie to figure it out as best that I can. I can tell you what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm putting money in as this thing goes down. So bottom fishing is a very expensive sport, and I'm just going to DCA, and that's how I'm doing it. And if I get destroyed, I get destroyed. If I catch if I accumulate crypto here and crypto turns around, it could be up only for the whole rest of the year. Like after all this Binance forced selling is over, right? After all this puking with related hedge funds, right? If hedge funds sell equities, I mean, another word on equities and another word about crypto. Do you realize, and stay here with me, do you realize that crypto-related equities have done better? So Bitcoin miners that talked up AI and got involved in AI, all of the crypto stonks have done way better than crypto. I'm talking like 10x. The stocks 10x'd. We're in the opposite world that we've been in for like the last 2 years, where the crypto stonks didn't do anything. They were ridiculous. Bitcoin's at 100 or 120K, and most of the Bitcoin miners didn't move. Now it's the reverse. The stonks 10x'd, literally. The Bitcoin treasury FOMO is unbelievable. And crypto didn't go anywhere. Like I've seen more pumps in Tom Lee's ETH treasury company than I have in ETH. And of course, everyone's out on the tape going, Oh, Michael Saylor's in trouble. Tom Lee's in trouble. I bet they're not sleeping at night. No, if they're not sleeping at night, it's because they're at their desk like me going, where's the low? Where's the low? And where is the decoupling? You don't understand the decoupling? We have the 500th episode of the Market Update where Tobie laid out the whole futurism thing for you. And we even gave you a couple picks for free. Tobie's like, hey, you went through that a little too fast. I'm like, yup, I did. Because the future is for customers who, by the way, I don't mind saying, you see emojis, you see those little member emojis. Our people are making money in what is a big pile of Tootsie Rolls market, if you catch my drift, right? Our people made money, especially on this privacy stuff. And you know what? Antivirus and their Matrix airdrop could be next, particularly if big privacy coins consolidate. It can happen. In other words, we've had, how many surprises have we had? We're about to have an NVIDIA surprise. There's a bank surprise. Did Dash going up, I don't know, 3x in a week? Was that on anyone's bingo card? I don't think so. And there's more surprises coming because, as Tobie said, all the rules that govern crypto, all the things that like, oh my God, NVIDIA is down, so stonks are down. Yeah, maybe for 1 or 2 days. But if the world has changed, I ask you this, what are you going to do? If the world has changed, do you have a plan? Like I gave you mine. What is your plan? Like if your bags are down, do you have last cycle's bags? Or do you have the AI, future of money bag? Speaking of future of money bag, Ripple acquires crypto wallet firm to expand institutional payment business. Okay, they're in the prime brokerage area. They're making all these acquisitions, and I don't mind saying it. I don't think it's XRP engagement farming to say that they are making strategic acquisitions the way Google did when it started buying YouTube and Android. Ripple is an XRP treasury company, and they're making themselves into a baby Goldman Sachs around their currency. The way JP Morgan and Citibank in the 90s made themselves a huge institution around trading the dollar and U.S. government debt. I mean, U.S. government debt and the expansion of U.S. government debt in the 80s and the 90s created modern Wall Street. It did. Because, there all of a sudden there was this gigantic function for these banks on the institutional level, and that spread out into currencies, commodities, and of course it all came to a crashing end in 2008. But this thing with Ripple, Galaxy Digital, all these companies, yeah, they're being ignored. XRP is being pushed out the window with everything else. Ridiculous. Ripple is turning itself into like, I don't know, like a Citibank, right? Where they're going to essentially be a giant payments, real world assets. They're just all putting together the rails while everyone is selling and everyone is negative. It's funny. Like, last year, it was the dawn of the new era for XRP. Now XRP is at the same price and everyone is negative. Or they think there's no news on XRP. There's not a lot of price action, but Ripple is making moves, right? Everyone is upset in the XRP world that Solana got the ETF. Okay. Solana got the ETF and I don't know, validators turn around and market sold it because the ETF launch wasn't big enough. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's stupid. Like XRP versus Solana is a stupid comparison. It is. It's engagement farming. Solana has a very specific function. Ask Mike Novogratz from Galaxy Digital. Ripple has a specific function along with XRP. Do you know how many big Wall Street types have got Ripple's private stock, which does trade if you have a Bloomberg terminal? Did you know that? Not a lot of people know this, and not a lot of people understand it. That everything everybody thought about Bitcoin and XRP and Solana and Ethereum for last year, okay, all the good stuff, everyone has all of a sudden decided to talk themselves into the bad stuff and B, ignore the good stuff. They ignored everything. Last year, we had this mindless expectation that the government was going to print $10 trillion and buy our bags. That's what we thought last year at this time. Now, sovereigns are behaving so badly that they could nuke the system, or the system nukes itself. But frequently, when you have big problems in financial markets, when you have recessions and things like that, I learned in school that most of that is attached to what you would call policy error. And this government shutdown, ladies and gentlemen, is dangerous. But as we said last night, and as I've said on the stream, and this is why you tune in, you got to ask yourself when you look at your bags, is this not the dream? Is this not the perfect environment to sprout a monster crypto rally? A monster crypto rally. Like, you got NASDAQ down 1.5% pre-open, and I can't wait to see what all the highly levered margin babies do when we discuss this, that hedge funds, when their risk models see 1 or 2 big down days, they're going to sell everything. Now, unfortunately, that may include crypto, but crypto has been going down. It has been going down. You're getting a dip right now in Zcash. So all those Patreon members that got that trading plan for crypto, Zcash, and privacy, bada bing, bada boom, right on the money. Don't miss out. I'm looking at this thing right now. Let's go to TA verbally. I'm watching them on the Bitcoin 4-hour chart sell Bitcoin into the LuxAlgo discount zone, which, that's like the bargain basement price. So these guys can have a nice day. I have support at 103. I spent half the stream talking about, well, what happens if Bitcoin breaks down? I got a question for you. What happens if it doesn't? What happens if the Gann model is right and 103 is freaking juicy? I mean, AI is the only thing holding up the economy right now. Breaking news from the Eagle King. And what is a critical component of the AI trade? What is perhaps the most important part? Cryptocurrency. Moving money around in a different way, right? 45% of the stocks in the S&P 500 are above their 100-day moving average. So stocks are at all-time high, and half the stocks are below their 100-day moving average. That's 5 months. Average price of the last 5 months, S&P 500. Like, why does anyone want to own that? Meanwhile, fear, greed in crypto. I'm coming back to TA, but this is just unbelievable. Fear, greed is now at 21. Fear, greed this time last year was 92. At Thanksgiving, it was 92. Or right after the change of power, it was at 92. Now we're at 21. Same level. Now, what we have is just a better case. We have Jerome Powell exposed. Okay, Jerome Powell exposed. Congress and the administration behaving about as badly as you can, because they're going to force their agenda on. Everyone's trying to force their agenda on everybody, and I really can't wait to see what happens in Manhattan today or tomorrow. Ray Dalio talks about social disorder. Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen it, and I think we're about to. And you got to ask yourself, with fear, greed at 21, I'm looking at all the DeMark charts, all the 4-hour DeMark charts in all of the big digital assets, Solana, Bitcoin, right? I did all this for Patreon 2 days ago. You have a 13 bottom and a 9 bottom. So you have some very powerful signals that if, and I emphasize if, crypto could actually turn around and start going back up, like if there is no flush below 100 and it actually can turn around and start going up, you have a major bottom on 4-hour charts. Keeping in mind on the LuxAlgo side, I don't know, they're selling it into the discount zone. I don't buy the premium zone and I don't sell the discount zone. I don't. This is why I can only tell you what I'm doing. I put cash to work when they smacked this thing overnight, like Solana down to 160, that was the first thing I did. So you don't realize Solana was at 200 like a week ago. A week ago. I mean, the stuff that's been ignored here, like, you know, the antivirus, there's the antivirus airdrop matrix. So it's a placeholder token for a blockchain that will, I don't know, make Monero look like a kid's toy when they actually fully build it all the way out in 2026. That placeholder token to get what I'm calling the sort of like improvement on Monero. Let's be bold. Yeah, that has a 2 million market cap. I know it's kind of like a coupon for the real token, but still, with what privacy coins are doing, there are sectors in this market that have been abandoned. And even the ones that have been outperforming, like TAO, they're giving you a super juicy correction. I mean, in many ways, if you're a buyer or if you're bullish, the market's coming right to you. Now, who would be bullish? So I know you're wrecked, and there's a lot of people wrecked, and I get it. But what do you think BlackRock's thinking this morning? Like, you stuck around and you're upset. You want to know what to do. Okay, well, why don't you sit down and pretend you're in the morning meeting at BlackRock, or you're in the morning meeting at some big institution, and you're about to watch stocks give out. How are you going to allocate money? Even if this is the scariest thing you've ever seen, it could be, right? It could be over the next 1 to 3 days. And my comment on that is, the scarier it is, the more I'm going to buy. Like, when I bought the small amounts of stuff I bought yesterday, it felt terrible. I'm like, Bill, why are you wasting your money? This is going to go to zero. Michael Burry is going to be right. The booga, 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 booga that they're going to put on the tape today, it's going to be unbelievable, particularly when, you know, normies figure out that they're long a ridiculously overvalued bubble over there. And here we are puking everything out when we're at exactly the same point that we were at last year, with a better case for crypto and everybody bearish. Everybody bearish and wrecked, which is even worse. Okay. Buck 52,000 said, will Buffett deploy his cash? Yeah, probably if equities go down 40%, which is what, you know, that's probably what he's expecting. That's what Michael Burry is expecting. And I guess you're going to find out just how much margin debt is actually out there. Okay. Big Rich wants me to look at, you know, he wants me to look at Sui and Solana. Sharing the charts on this screen doesn't always work, but I love the 13 bottom in Solana on the 4-hour chart. And I've got a good support shelf there between 157 and 152. Okay, let me see if I can share it, because, you know, Big Rich is a Spartan colonel and he's been around. There's the support shelf in Solana, right? 152 to 157 right there. So Solana, not only has Solana not done anything in 2 years, but Solana's washed everybody out that's bought it since July. There's no one left long. I mean, if you're long, you're underwater, you're hosed, you feel terrible. Okay, Sui, we discussed whether or not Sui would go from $2, whether you could see Sui at $2 or $3 in the short term, and Tobie was right. Okay, and then this in Sui, okay, you will have your 9 bottom tomorrow. In other words, when you look at most stuff, most of these coins are either headed for support or could wick down through support. Now, of course, this can all go to zero. Do you really need to watch a crypto live stream to know that crypto could just disappear and go to zero? Because that'll be all over Twitter today. It already is. Fear Greed's at 21. What are they doing? They're going to take it down to 10. And they could. It went to zero in stonks. Great. Okay. Like, again, what can I tell you? I can tell you crypto, you know, stick around. Crypto is pushing the discount zones in all the big cryptos. Small cryptos that represent the future of tech and money are either correcting or are dead. So you've got all these dormant coins that can wake up at any moment. In other words, if you want to hear something positive, right? Because stonks are going to get wrecked and we're going to have, we're going to have to face the music today, most likely. But what happens when everyone in crypto gets sold out? What happens? Like, what happens when everybody who has to sell has sold? And then there won't be a buyer on the way up because market makers have been wounded. So yes, it's nasty on the way down, but when and if crypto turns, there's no seller. Literally, there's no seller. Market makers will not get in front of this thing. They're not like, okay, yeah, it's a rampaging down market. We're not taking it from you. If it's a rampaging up market, have fun. Go buy it in the market. We're not selling it to you if it's ripping in our face, because they're all wounded from Binance. So the thing that's working against this market right now can start working for this market. DNT Saver is here. Welcome, sir. How about Zcash? Okay. So let's talk about Zcash, right? I was a big Zcash fan 3 years ago. It's my pet box of chocolates under the bed along with Dash. Okay. And Zcash is at 400 and it looks like it's going to the moon. It doesn't pull back. Every dip is bought. Zcash is a buy. All privacy is a buy. However, I would encourage you to get the report because I wonder if you do have to FOMO in. In other words, is Zcash going to go right to 1,000 or can the rest of this market wake up? Because remember, Zcash has been going up as the market's been going down. What happens to Zcash if the market reverses? That's in the Patreon Platinum privacy trading plan. In other words, everybody, because of Zcash, which I love, right? And I love Monero even more, and our friends over at Antivirus, which is still the most underrated crew ever. Everyone has forgotten about the rest of the market. Trust me, I got made fun of so badly 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2023, for talking about Zcash. I mean, my boss made fun of me. Everybody made fun of me, right? Except our customers who bought it, tucked it away, and they got themselves a 20X. Now, after something 20Xs, do you want to FOMO in? Especially since we are in a P&L destruction environment. So Zcash, as it relates to the world, what happens when everything starts going down? They not only sell the losers, but they start selling the winners. Gold, like gold cracked, right? I'm not saying Zcash is going to crack, but the thing is, it's been a big winner. And if everybody starts selling everything, which is what can happen in the institutional world, when people think or computer models see the environment as too risky, it just beeps and says, sell everything. It doesn't matter whether the trader or portfolio manager likes it or not. It's called a value at risk model. Just see it. Michael Burry is betting on what they call a VAR shock, meaning the computer model can't get people out fast enough and it just goes full 2008. You do have a bubble in many stocks. Stuff has 10x'd. It makes no sense. Great. Good. Let it happen to them and let everybody wake up and go, wow, Bitcoin's exactly where it was a year ago. It is. ETH hasn't changed. If you look at ETH right now, ETH has not changed since FTX. ETH is exactly where it was 3 years ago before the giant whatever. Like at 4,000, ETH was going to 10,000. At 3,500, Tom Lee's in trouble. Do you see the folly of this market, how stupid it is? At 4,500, it's going to 10,000. At 3,500, Tom Lee is going to get carried out. And I'm waiting. The ultimate bottoming signal really isn't fear, greed. It's everybody telling you that it's over for Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor's average price is 75K. It's going to 60K. MicroStrategy is going to get liquidated. I'm telling you, the second, the picture of Michael Saylor where he's like this, I don't even know where they got that from, but as soon as that gets everywhere, which is what you might see if you have like a giant stop running event, that's it. And, fear greed has 20 points to go until it goes to 0. And I agree with what Big Rich and the rest of the Spartans are saying. Some guys in here talking about file country, right? Buck 52 wants to see VIX above 30, right? It's Swing Addict Trading says, if you've been in crypto since 2017, it's the same thing being done now. Okay. Felix says stocks aren't going to go down. Stop FUDing. Now, this is a good point. This is a good point, right? Michael Burry, on his last big attempts to recreate the Big Short thrill, he's been wrong. And I got a funny question for you. Just funny, a little funny. What happens if this is just a 1 to 3 day puke in stocks? Like, what if they just run the stops for 3 days? What if it's not the end of the world? What's going to happen to crypto? Now, maybe that's wishful thinking, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if it's a 1 to 3 day puke in stocks, they had a 1 to 3 day puke. They scared everybody, and then it went straight up. We'll see what they do. I'm not going to puke Bitcoin at what I perceive to be support with good signals. If they want to take it down and give me an additional opportunity, or if I'm just wrong and I have to stop out, then I'll admit that I'm wrong. But I'm not going to voluntarily exit because it's scary. I'm going to make them force me out. Right? And if stocks don't go down the way Michael Burry thinks they're going to go down, or the Fed comes in and just tweaks this, or they get scared enough after 1 or 2 down days and they reopen Uncle Sugar and sugar starts flowing into the system again. I mean, everybody thought the tariff thing was the end of the world. It wasn't. The market's trading like the shutdown might be the end of the world. It's going to cause major problems. But if the Fed comes in and addressing it, people are going to look at Bitcoin at 102 and go, what's the problem? What are we doing? Why are we doing this again? I mean, can you remember? Do you have the exact details of why stonks went to fear greed 0 back in April? A recession was guaranteed, right? The narrative that's getting wrapped around this decline. Every single economist in April was predicting a recession. It never happened because of the AI data center build out. So they thought economic growth was going to go down. It didn't. They thought inflation was going to go up. It didn't. And nobody was talking about what would happen with the job market. So in other words, they missed absolutely everything. And the question that you need to ask yourself is, what have you missed about the crypto markets and how it relates to the rest of the world? What have you missed? Now, Tobie Ward will tell you what you missed. And oh my God, we put it out for free for the 500th market update. Shelly Farmer Allen is here. Welcome, Big Rich, members, Art, back from holiday, out there in Amsterdam. Welcome, sir. Right? Baby Well, Ibram, Yi Chow. Welcome to anybody coming in from overseas. Scrappy says hello. Crypto Tilly in the house. Diego, a member. What's going on? Supermat from the UK. Okay. Smash Satoshi says all markets seem to be going to cash until the dust settles. Yeah, you can go to cash, man. That's the old trade. What's the decoupling trade? Tobie says, whatever you do, don't put it in cash. Put it in Akash and Akash and TAO and tolerate 10% volatility. That's better than cash. Swing Addict Trading, wrong again. Tyler Hall from the Antivirus Universe. Huckleberry Native, now a Spartan Colonel, been a YouTube member for a year. Please feel free to hit that join button. Okay. ICP still on a heater. Getting ready to rumble. Bull Runner first on the stream. Yoppy, the water guy. What's up? Wow, we got a lot of people in here today. Patricia is here. SJ, Havoc, DNT Saver. Sam, how about XRP? Yeah, how about it, man? How about the future of money? Why are we not talking? Why is XRP Solana not included with Zcash and Dash? Everyone's talking about Zcash and Dash because they're going up. And I submit to you this question. What happens if XRP, Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and even Bitcoin start acting like Zcash? Now, of course, Zcash was at, like 100 market cap, and it moved to the number 20 market cap, and it probably should be top 5. I know Monero should be top 5. The only reason Monero isn't top 5 is because everyone's too afraid to buy it. You have to go to Kraken in Canada to do it, which, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not. Because, if you really want privacy, it's Monero. Zcash has privacy features. What happens? This is the John McAfee term. Cryptocurrency Decred exploded yesterday. Decred was the first altcoin I ever heard about. I went to the Texas Bitcoin conference in 2007. And there was a guy with a little Decred logo, like a mascot for a basketball team. And there's like 12 people, and they're explaining about Decred, how it was an improvement on Bitcoin's proof of work. You know, all of these baby Bitcoins are flying. Well, you know, XRP isn't a Bitcoin fork, obviously, but XRP is like an OG coin back from 2018, like money, right? Private money. Why does everybody think that it's only Zcash and Dash? Yeah, that's the only thing that's going up, and it's dramatic, and everyone's all wound up about it because this market is driving people insane. And here's the final word. This market is this is the most mental market I've ever seen, because people are having bull market torment because they have FOMO on the privacy coins, and they feel like they've missed out, particularly with the way Dash traded. And then the rest of their bags are melting down. The consensus longs, the big coins, you know, the stuff that everybody thinks and knows and hopes is going up long-term isn't performing. It's going the other way. So you have a bull market and a bear market going on at the same time. Now, you can say, wow, woe is me. That's awful. And my heart does go out to you. However, if you consider that you've never seen this before, what about the idea of a new paradigm? If Zcash and Dash can go up while Bitcoin and Ethereum go down, can Bitcoin and Ethereum go up while stonks go down? I mean, really? I mean, would you have believed me if I told you Dash was going to 3x while Bitcoin dropped close to 100? If I had told you that a week ago, would you have done that trade? No, you would have just kept scrolling. So something weird is happening. Something weird continues to happen. And this thing is a weirdness object in motion. New things are going to happen every single day. And if stonks go down and it's not the end of the world, or it is a big problem because of banks or whatever, it hurts the integrity of the financial system. To me, the whole market's going to start trading like Dash and Zcash, because leadership in markets, it's always the low quality stuff that goes first. What goes first? The stuff that no one likes, the stuff that no one owns, the stuff that no one understands, and the stuff that's hard to buy. In this case, it was a wicked twist. It was easy to buy on Coinbase, which made the rest of the crypto nose turn their nose, the rest of the crypto market turn their nose up at it. It was hard to buy because nobody wanted to go to Coinbase and buy some boomer coin. And of course, no one understands it. No one understands they had privacy feature. And of course, no one owns it. No one owns it. It's not in an ETF. It's not some fancy, it's not a meme coin. The guys in the trenches don't own it. Yeah, okay, boom. And that's what leads the bull market. Like, in other words, everyone's like, fear greed's at 20, we're in a bear market. I'm like, is anyone following the leadership coins? Does anyone understand sector leadership? Well, the answer to that would be no, because that's a stonk thing. But we have sector leadership, like, you know, Railgun, our Decred, right? All of these coins, Zen, another privacy-based coin on Coinbase, Mina, a Tobie favorite. These coins are all going up in 20% increments. Now, some of them go up and don't stay up, but some of them go up like Dash did. Then they stabilize, which Dash did at 40, and then they explode. And everyone's acting like this is not happening. It's happening. And everyone is also acting like that can't spread out. Well, I got news for you, folks. You see all this gray hair? There are two options here. Either this market's going to zero because I got the whole thing wrong and it's a bear market, or it's a bull market in disguise. And if you hung around this long, when I'm off the phone, right? When we're off the phone here, the phone, yeah, I know, no one talks on the phone anymore. When we're off the phone and I'm not in your ear, you got to hear me in the back of your head if this market does something like stonks go down and Bitcoin starts going up. Can this be the start of a bull market? I know where my money is. I can't tell you what to do. And as one of the first traders I used to work with used to say, if I'm wrong, I'll lose money. That's the market update for today. We will see you, I don't know, tomorrow, later today. We'll see you.